somewhere else. Some birds fly north, some birds fly south. Some birds take the bus. Most birds go somewhere. George Roland wasn't like most birds. George never went anywhere. Not here, not a little over here, or here, not even here, not anywhere. I like it here better than anywhere somewhere else, he told himself. Besides, there was always something nice baking in the oven. George Roland had a gift for baking the most astonishing pastry. Friends were always dropping by on their way to somewhere else. One morning, Penelope Thornwhistle declared, "This eclair is almost as spectacular as soaring high above the sunlight in the Andes. Let's fly there together." Georgie, it will be a hoot. But Georgie wasn't interested. He always had an excuse. "Not today, Penelope. I've got brownies in the oven. I think this batch will win a award." The following afternoon, Walter Greenberg popped in for some delectable apple strudel. "This apple strudel makes me think of Paris at night, dear boy. Come see it with me, George. It's truly extraordinary." "So sorry, Walter," said George. "I'd love to come, but I've got a mountain of ignoring to do." The very next week, a flock of friends swooped in to sample some of George's prize-winning carrot cake. "Have you seen the Alaskan tundra in the fur?" they cried. "It's like this cake. There are no words to describe its beauty." "How about wah?" someone suggested. "Wah wasn't enough." George was going nowhere. "Sorry, I've got a yoga class that day," he said. As the seasons passed by, everyone stopped asking George if he wanted to go somewhere else with them. He was far too busy, it seemed. Winter arrived and George found himself alone, except for Pascal Lombard. Pascal was searching for a warm place to spend the winter. "I wish I could fly, George," he said. "I hear the cabin is nice this time of year. Why aren't you somewhere else, on the beach in the sun?" "I've been busy learning flamenco songs on my guitar," said George. "But you don't want a guitar, George," said Pascal. "Actually, I've been watching the complete series of Lost in Space," said George. "But you don't have a television," said Pascal. "Well, it's true. I've been writing my memories," said George. "But you're only 5, said Pascal. "You haven't done anything yet." "Well, I would got gone somewhere else," said George. "If only I knew how to fly." George told Pascal how on the important day when everyone had learned to fly, he was simply doing something else. He had been making excuses not to fly ever since. It just so happened that Pascal Lombard had an uncanny knack for solving tricky problems. "George, I have an uncanny knack for solving tricky problems," he announced. We are going to teach you how to fly. They wasted no time. First, they read some helpful books. That didn't work out so well. Then they got creative. That didn't go so well either. Then they ran out of good ideas. It turned out Pascal Lombard didn't have much of a knack for solving tricky problems after all. I don't think I was meant to fly, said George sadly. I will always be a stay-at-home kind of guy. George felt disappointed. Pascal felt disappointed. They spent the afternoon quietly reading by the fire. Just as Pascal thought maybe it was time to go, George pointed to Pascal's newspaper. What is that wonderful bubble thing? He said. It just so happened that Pascal Lombard was remarkable good with his friend, with his hand. George, I'm remarkably good with my hands, he announced. We can build it. And so they did. It took all winter. It turned out Pascal Lombard wasn't actually very good with his hands. Finally, after some hiccups, we are flying, Pascal, said George. Yes, we are, George, said Pascal. Where shall we go? I have some ideas, smiled George. They traveled to all the places they had heard about and some they hadn't. Paris at night really is extraordinary, said George. George and Pascal flew for months. The world was bigger and more exciting than they had ever imagined. But something was missing. George's homemade pie. Where shall we go next winter? Said Pascal. Anywhere, somewhere else, said George. Thank you for the watching. Bye bye.